Hey everybody, TJ here. Thanks for joining me and welcome to another episode of Custom Conquest Showcase. I've talked at length about how personal the customizing process can be for me. The most significant aspect of today's featured custom is not so much the figure itself as the circumstances that led to its creation. Cause I'll level with you, this was a figure I really wanted to have, but at the same time, I really didn't want to make. It's for this reason I feel like the best way to present this figure is by describing the circumstances that finally motivated me to actually make it. And to do that, we kind of need to go back to the beginning. So if you'll allow me, I'd like to bend your ear for a little story time. Now, fair warning, this could potentially stretch on for a bit, so I won't be offended if you just want to advance to somewhere around the midpoint. But it's really important to me to set the scene here and provide a little background, not only on what led up to the creation of today's featured custom, but also to offer some insight into my general creative customizing conceptualization process. The reason I started customizing amiibo figures in the first place was a little game called Super Smash Bros. For Wii U. Maybe you've heard of it? The first wave of amiibo released alongside Smash 4 in 2014. I meant it when I said beginning. And I was so pumped to explore all the ways amiibo figures developed their own combat styles, learned from their experiences in battle, and became truly unique and individualized fighters that I dedicated an entire series to determining which amiibo figure reigned supreme, entitled Smash Supremacy, which ran for 3 years and 62 episodes. Still available to watch in its entirety right here on the Nintendo Wired channel. Feel free to check it out if you haven't yet. Not a bad watch if I do say so myself. Maybe I'm a little biased. If you've been here for a minute, you may have seen the live-action promo I shot to promote Smash Supremacy, a shot-for-shot homage to the Mii Fighter and Amiibo reveal trailer featuring former Nintendo of America president Reggie Fils-Aimé and late 4th president of Nintendo, the legendary and beloved Mr. Satoru Iwata. My version featured Hero TJ and Dark TJ sword fighting for supremacy to a stalemate until determining to settle it in Smash with Amiibo figures. Link has always been my favorite Nintendo character. It's a secret to no one he's the inspiration for my Mii character Hero TJ, so it was only natural that Link would be Hero TJ's amiibo of choice. Now prepare yourself for this groundbreaking revelation. Dark TJ is heavily inspired by the various incarnations of Dark and Shadow Link. So I felt the most appropriate and symbolic character he could produce would be Dark Link. But since such a figure didn't exist, I took it upon myself to create one. I really had a lot of fun, and that's how this whole customizing journey began. Essentially, I just wanted to fill a gap in my collection. Sometime later, I got the itch to create another amiibo-centric series called Me v Me. Now I know what you're thinking. Enough about these old shows, just get on with it already. But please, stick with me. This isn't just shameless self-promotion. Well, it sort of is. But I'm going somewhere with this. I'm leading up to something, I promise. In Me v Me, Hero TJ and Dark TJ recruit the Smash cast of characters to their respective teams, and I included several of the alternate skins, more specifically the ones that could actually be considered alternate characters, such as the aforementioned Dark Link, as well as the Toon variety, and all 7 Koopa Links, which, as all you classic custom conquistadors will recall, represented a substantial portion of the first season of the show. The actual figures I was using, in the case of Bowser Jr. for example, which were unique on the inside as far as the NFC chip was concerned when I scanned it into the game, but the outside remained essentially identical, and it became too confusing to keep track of which one was which. So my impetus to customize in this case stemmed primarily from a desire to have a physical figure that matched the character's in-game appearance. This became a reoccurring theme in Me v Me. Because Smash 4 allowed me to apply character variations to my Amiibo's NFC chip, and because I had no reason to suspect that Nintendo had any intention of ever releasing official versions of these alternates, I excitedly set about the task of creating them for myself. And it wasn't just limited to various versions of Link and the Koopa Kids either. I also employed an extra Olimar, Robin, and Wii Fit Trainer to serve as Elf, female Robin, and male Wii Fit Trainer. Even though I tracked down extra Amiibo figures to make custom versions of these characters, I was hesitant to actually follow through. So I extracted the NFC chips and crafted them into cards instead, which worked well enough as far as organizing Amiibo fighters as it relates to Me v Me, but why the hesitation in creating my own custom figures? Well, the reason for that is twofold. Number one, frankly, on some level, I just didn't want to. I lacked the creative impulse, and each one of them presented a unique challenge that I didn't have a solution for at the time, some obstacle I didn't know how to overcome. Add to that, I'm a very slow and methodical customizer, and the investment of time required for some projects is often an unrealistic proposition. I don't have to tell you, life is a balancing act. This is a hobby for me, and between my work and raising my 3 young kids, there's not often much time left for playing with toys. But what really held me back was this next reason. So what exactly was it that completely put the pause on my custom Elf, female Robin, and male Wii Fit Trainer? Well, this happened. When Nintendo revealed the final wave of Amiibo for Smash Bros. 4, for the very first time, they included Player 2 alternates for Cloud, Bayonetta, and most significantly, Corrin. This had me reeling at the possibilities. What did this mean? Did this release truly mark the end of the Smash line? Or did it mark the beginning of a Player 2 series that could provide rabid fans such as myself with the alternate characters I wanted so badly that I went so far as to make them for myself? So, I waited. Then Smash Ultimate was announced, and with it new characters, and you guessed it, new amiibo. But even though all previously released amiibo were confirmed to be compatible, it was unclear at the time if Nintendo would simply be reissuing the figures from the Smash 4 line, or if they would be creating alternate variants like the 3-Player 2 figures. As it stands, as of this point in time, only the characters who did not appear in Smash 4 have received amiibo figures based on their Smash Ultimate key art. And Nintendo has yet to explain what the whole Player 2 thing was all about. Maybe they were testing the waters? Maybe it was some sort of fan appreciation for making us wait 2 years for the final figures to hit the market. Maybe it was a way to cut Square and Platinum in on a larger profit share. Maybe it was a last-minute cash grab to expunge the final few dollars from fans in the face of a failing Wii U. Maybe. We'll never know. The bottom line is, my primary motivation for customizing Smash Bros. Amiibo is to create a physical version of neglected characters. I have no interest in creating customs based on figures that will ultimately receive an official version, and the whole Player 2 business left me in doubt about Alf, Robin, and WFT. Now, the jury is still out on future figure releases such as Hero, who himself comes in 4 flavors. He could certainly still hit the shelves in 4-pack formation. I mean, there are 4 official Pokemon Trainer alts after all. But in any event, I finally reached the point where I felt confident that the only way I was getting an Alf, female Robin, or male Wii Fit Trainer amiibo figure is if I took matters into my own hands. So I pray you'll forgive my long-winded introduction to address what has led up to producing some of these alternate character customs. Now, to address some of those unique challenges I alluded to earlier. I do hope we're going to have the chance to look at all these custom amiibo in detail at some point, but for now, by popular demand, let's dive into customizing a Robin amiibo of the female persuasion. Now, the first thing I want to address about a Robin gender conversion is that at first glance, it seems almost painfully simple. And let's face it, it absolutely can be. I mean, both male and female Robin are outfitted near identically, their poses are only subtly different, and the only obvious distinction is the hairstyle. And there are plenty of fantastically convincing female Robin customs out there that involve no more than simply resculpting the hair. You don't even have to repaint it. So it's important to understand, a custom female Robin amiibo is really only as difficult as you choose to make it. The two Robins are a lot more in common than they are different. Let's examine a little more closely. We mentioned the hair. Female Robin sports a pair of ponytails. Her bangs are longer than default Robin, and also swept to the side, exposing more forehead above the brow line. Robin's outfit is very gender neutral, and even though female Robin's outer cloak is slightly tapered at the waist, the ensemble still goes a really long way to conceal Robin's feminine physique. I suppose some of their more notable distinctions aren't overly apparent in their Smash Bros. Attire. And the only other thing... Wait, hold on a sec. That's a tad bit on the distracting side. Let's just... Yeah. Okay. Now, what was I saying? Alright. The only other real differences are their key art poses. Default Robin's sword is almost fully extended, whereas female Robin's sword is nearly at a right angle with her sword arm. And whereas default Robin's feet are relatively shoulder width apart, female Robin looks as if she's caught mid-stride, with her left foot trailing. So if I were to tackle custom female Robin from this angle, I'd simply incline the sword upward, tip the left leg back, and add some ponytails. The simplicity certainly has its appeal, but in many ways, I almost felt it was too simple, and there just wasn't enough to distinguish the two versions since they're so similar in nearly all respects. Cue Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. All the new additions to the Smash Amiibo line are based on their Ultimate key art. I really love the official art from Smash 4, but generally speaking, I think Ultimate took it up a notch, providing more dynamic poses with more dramatic hair and clothing elements. And I certainly feel like this applies to Robin. And Robin. I found this new pose to be exciting, and it galvanized me to revisit the idea of customizing a physical version of female Robin. I should also mention there was a related random occurrence that pertains more specifically to the male Wii Fit Trainer, so I'll refrain from going into extensive detail on that in this episode. That part of the story will have to wait until he gets showcased. So now that we've got this excessive preamble out of the way, let's finally get down to how I went about putting this newfound inspiration into practical application. As I'm sure you're already aware, I began this custom with a Robin amiibo. Because I wanted to alter the position of the right leg, I needed to remove it from the base. In the case of Robin, and several other amiibo figures I've worked with in fact, the point at which they connect to the base is actually a much more rigid and brittle piece of plastic, which makes them much more of a challenge to remove. I still like to employ the boiling water because it tends to loosen the glue, but I exercise much more caution as the much more rigid plastic can warp or deform if it's exposed to extreme heat for too long. And because of how resistant this particular Robin was to disassemble, I removed the more flexible portion of the figure first, leaving just the two boots protruding from the base. The left boot could remain in its original place place, but I gently pried at the right boot until I could coax it out of the platform. And this early critical step, I'm glad to say, amounted to the most difficult procedure of the entire operation. While the figure was still warm, I removed Robin's hair since I didn't feel it could adequately be converted into female Robin style, but I took great care to preserve the finish on Robin's face because I wanted to limit what I needed to paint to only minor touch-ups. I removed both arms and the head as well so I could adjust the angle and rotation. I reinserted Robin's head with a subtle twist to lend the appearance of looking slightly to the right. I then secured the heads and the arms with a hand drill, paperclip armatures, and some superglue. There's really so much fantastic detail on the pages of Robin's book, and I really love that being on display when viewing the figure from the front. I flipped the bottom half of Robin's outer cloak up so that it flared out from the waist, sort of like an incomplete ring of Saturn. I kept it like that for a while, but really at no point did I find it satisfying. While it matched the general position of the ultimate art, it didn't look particularly convincing, gravitationally speaking. Now, as is often the case when working on a figure, I might have anywhere between 5 and 10 different customs in various stages of completion, and on occasion this leads to unexpected sources of inspiration. Robin was the beneficiary of 3 such instances. The first came from fellow female Fire Emblem fighter Corrin. As I was in the process of helping Corrin pack for her Norian summer vacation, her discarded cape caught my eye. While it didn't perfectly conform to Robin's waist, I was able to sample enough swatches to assemble a more dynamic solution for the bottom of Robin's cloak. You'll recall, WeFit Trainer had something to do with propelling the Robin project into motion, but our Fit friend also made a minor component contribution. The WeFit Trainer AMIIBO has her hair pulled back into a short ponytail. Since that particular piece wasn't playing a part for male WeFitty, I found I could quite compatibly cap Robin's head with the WeFit Trainer's hairpiece. Once I removed the ponytail, it served as a nice base to build on for styling female Robins do. Originally I thought I might be able to pilfer a pair of ponytails from some salvaged Zero Suit SAMUS scraps, but they wound up being too exaggerated in scale. Now, I certainly could have sculpted Robin's ponytails, but when most modeling compounds cure, they tend to lack much in the way of flexibility, and since this particular part of the figure is likely to have to hold up to handling, I preferred using plastic. Right in front of me sat another female Fire Emblem favorite, who was also playing a pivotal part in custom Novice Vacation or Corrin's construction. Yet another dragon princess, this time of a divine nature. Fire Emblem's TIKI. I decided I could repurpose TIKI's long anime-style side bangs to achieve a nicely proportioned pair of ponytails, and maintain that high degree of flexibility I favor. Nice. To position the right leg, I sanded a groove into the top back of the boot so I could fit it against the back of Robin's thigh, fit it with a paper clip, and bent it into shape. There was quite a bit of back and forth here as I tested and retested to make sure everything aligned accordingly. The actual sculpting requirements were somewhat minimal. There was some minor patching around the arms and the transition of the cloak. I also needed to finesse where the ponytails connected to the head, and where the right knee connected back into the boot. While WeFit Trainer's bangs are a pretty close match to female Robin's from a style standpoint, I felt Robin needed a little more volume, so I embellished her bangs with some Apoxie Sculpt. Once I got Robin's pose looking to my liking, it was time to patch her up with some paint. While I didn't find myself with much to paint, this stage didn't come without its challenges. For one, I wasn't exactly sure how to get the correct look for Robin's hair color. To be perfectly frank, I'm still not convinced I ever did. I think of Robin's hair as white, but if you look at the official Robin released as reference, or the key art, you'll notice subtle lavender highlights. I painted the hair a light shade of gray to start, with the intention of layering on directional highlights. I felt like the white looked pretty good, but for some reason, the more I tried to hint at the lavender tones, the less I liked it, so I just went with a straight grayscale. I'm sure a more gifted painter than myself could have sorted it out, but honestly, it's a compromise I'm not losing any sleep over. Coverage on the cloak was also deceptively difficult. The black base and the purple interior were relatively straightforward, but my decision to utilize flowing folded fabric made it difficult to determine the placement of the gold triangle trim pattern. Since I wanted super clean lines, and doubted my ability to nail the placement on the first attempt, I cut the shapes out of electrical tape, spray painted them gold, and added the black center line with a fine-tipped permanent marker. This enabled me to easily add and remove as I tested placement for probably well over an hour, until finally just sticking them on there somewhere that seemed to make sense. I added in the gold trim, as well as some admittedly inaccurate gold embellishments on the upper cuff of her boots. But hey, that's the awesomest part about customizing, well, anything really. You can make it however you want. I also had a decision to make regarding the hole left in the platform from the former placement of Robin's right foot. I had an idea to conceal the hole with a machine cog, inspired by the Smash Series Coliseum stage from Fire Emblem, but when I fit it into place, I wasn't convinced I liked it, so I wasn't quite prepared to commit to it. Instead, I settled for simply smoothing some modeling compound into the bottom and painting over it for the time being. But let me know what you think. Do you like the cogs? Should I attempt to make a more thorough restoration of the base? Is it fine how it is? Maybe you have some idea that just might fit the bill. Drop your thoughts in the comments section. If you've been around for a while, you've probably seen quite a few customs I've done from the Super Mario series, and a whole season worth of Zelda. And while I've utilized most Fire Emblem figure components in other customs, Female Robin marks my very first finished Fire Emblem figure. As divisive as adding additional sword fighting characters into Smash Bros. Has become, I'm more than thrilled to at long last be able to add this sword fighter amiibo to my display shelf. It was a long road, years in the making, and it came really close to never happening at all. But looking back, this is one figure I'm really thankful I got around to. You heard me say at the top of the episode I don't have much interest in customizing amiibo figures that will eventually receive an official release. And people often ask me how crushed I would feel if Nintendo released an official line of, say, Koopalings. But the truth is, I would love it for a number of reasons. First of all, I mean, come on, who we kidding? I would love to have those. Secondly, I realize not everybody is interested in customizing amiibo figures, so I would be super happy for the general population to finally have a way to be able to own these figures. And the third reason is, I think it would be super cool to compare. Translating a 2D render into a 3D figure requires a considerable amount of interpretation. Frankly, I'd be really curious to see how close I got. Now, Female Robin might be my first, but she's not my only Fire Emblem custom. Let me know in the comments section below if you'd like to see a showcase featuring another custom Fire Emblem figure. I want to take a moment to thank you for watching this show. The warm reception I've received since returning is truly humbling and much appreciated. Your encouragement and support is the reason I even do this. If you happen to be a classic Custom Conquest fan, I want to invite you to check out another video I made a short while back explaining why Custom Conquest stopped, how it evolved into this show, and all the stops in between. That does it for this custom, but the conversation can continue in the comments section. Be sure to keep your eyes peeled for the official MeTJ icon. Hope to chat with you there. See you right back here again next time as we feature another brand new custom amiibo figure. Till then, thanks for playing.